And I just keep thinking of the hours that went by and the people who were injured and the officers whose lives were changed forever. A lot has been reported about the quick response force that was waiting at Andrews Air Force Base to be deployed to D.C. just in case. Now, that force was set up as additional troops to support the Guard's traffic control mission is needed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the quick response force couldn't be deployed to the Capitol immediately once the violence began because they were not outfitted for riot control. Is that right?
No, ma'am. They were outfitted. So
Yep.
The quick reaction force was District of Columbia Air National Guard Security Forces Squadron. Most of those guardsmen are law enforcement officers in their civilian positions.
Got it.
So they were ready to go, and they were outfitted with all the equipment that they needed.
And they were out at Andrews.
They were at Andrews, and I just took it upon myself to move them without permission. I just moved them to the armory so they would be closer as well.
Okay. And who was on that conversation with you? You mentioned from the Defense Department. I know who was on there from the police in D.C.
So Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, he was the chief. He was in charge of operations for the Army. The director of the Army staff was on the phone. Was on the call. Lieutenant General Pyatt. There were other senior civilian leaders from the United States Army and other high-ranking general officers were on the call as well.
Okay. And do you remember who was mostly talking about the optics, the questions that Senator Peters asked you and their concern about that?
Yes. So during the phone call with the District of Columbia leaders, the Deputy Mayor, Chief Son, Dr. Rodriguez, who was talking about optics, were General Flynn and General Pyatt. And they both said it wouldn't be in their best military advice to advise the Secretary of the Army to have uniformed Guards members at the Capitol during the election confirmation.
Thank you. Mr. Salas, could you explain why they would say such a thing? I know you were not on the call, and you were the one that they sent here on behalf of the Defense Department, but you were not on the call. And so do you have any idea why this delay occurred when, as Senator Peters has well pointed out, it didn't occur in other incidences?
Senator, as you point out, I was not on the calls, any of the calls.
We know that.
Okay.
That's why I spent my time talking to someone who was.
Right. However, Senator, in preparation for the hearing, I have had the opportunity to talk to General Walker. I've had the opportunity to talk to General Pyatt and other general officers on the Army staff. I've also had the opportunity to talk to Secretary McCarthy in preparation for the hearing so that I could understand the details of the...
Okay. So just if you could answer my questions, there's so many of my colleagues waiting, why this happened.
General Pyatt told me yesterday that he didn't say anything about optics.
He meant he didn't use the word optics, or are you saying that General Walker, who just testified that they were concerned about this, is wrong, or that...
General Pyatt told me yesterday, Senator, that he did not use the word optics.
I think that I'll let General Walker answer this, but I think what he's talking about is the general concern of that, was that they were more concerned about how this would appear, and it was in their best advice. And I guess what bears out his testimony is that they did not send the National Guard there for hours. They didn't give the authorization for him as he waited with his troops to go over to the Capitol.
Senator, in fairness to the committee, General Pyatt is not a decision maker. The only decision makers on the 6th of January were the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy. There was a chain of command from the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary McCarthy, to General Walker. That was the chain of command. There's lots of staff that is involved in obviously having discussions, but to be clear, on that day, that was the chain of command.
Just could I give General Walker, I think we should give him a moment to respond here, and then I'll be done.
Yes, Senator. So the chain of command is the President, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Army, William Walker, Commanding General, District of Columbia National Guard. Can I just make a correction? I said Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. It was Lieutenant General Charles Flynn.
Got it.
And so I
right.
just wanted to correct that.
Okay.
But there were people in the room with me on that call that heard what they heard.